right, I'm just going to get started now that it is 1 minute past. Hi everyone, and welcome to this session. We're going to be discussing accessing some American Community Survey data through data.census.gov. My name is Maria Valdesera, and I work with the Dissemination Outreach branch here at the Census Bureau. So in my position, I assist data users with finding data on data.census.gov, the Census API, and our microdata access tool. I also do teach participatory workshops that allow data users, a more hands-on experience with learning our census data tools. So for the outline of today's session, I'm going to dive right in with the demonstration of the site, which will include the two main ways of finding data, which is the single search and the advanced search. I'm also going to highlight some of our table and mapping capabilities within the site. Then I'm going to just go over some frequently asked questions about the site, as well as some educational materials and resources that I find pretty helpful when accessing data.census.gov. Then, if we have a few extra minutes, I'm going to, open up the Q&A if anybody has any outstanding questions about the materials that I covered today. So our first example is getting started with ACS data. So we're going to be using the single search for this example, and I'm going to highlight one of my favorite features of the site, which is our geography profile. I'm actually I did have a little bit of trouble last session around with my bandwidth, so I am going to turn off my camera right now. To access data.census.gov, you would want to use one of our preferred browsers, preferably Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge. But I'm just going to type in data.census.gov into our browser. And here is our main landing page. So we're going to start off by just typing in our geography. So for this example, it is Wayne County, Michigan. And that's just going to be using our single search bar. Now, when I do that, we can see that there is a little preview that is trying to load here, but this is our preview of the profile. And if we click on that, it will go directly to our geography profile for Wayne County. So I'm going to give a few seconds for this to load before I really dive into it here. So this is showing just, a map of the county itself. We have some geographic information that's available as well. And then if you wanted to share this profile, you could do so via Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, or email. You can also copy this link and, bookmark it or save it in another document if you go back to it frequently. You can also embed this profile into other web pages if you'd like to do that as well. So now we can see just some high-level data points here. There's a lot coming from the ACS that's available, but we also have data from the decennial census as well as our economic program. So again, just a lot of great information right off the bat. And if we scroll down, we can see that there are some featured topics at the top here. So, if I was interested in, say, housing data for Wayne County, I would just click on housing and then wait for some of those data points to load on the site. So here we can just see, some housing financial characteristics. These are our featured statistics here. So this is showing median gross rent in Wayne County and how that stacks up against the entire state. And then we have some graphs that are also available below that. Now, if I wanted to view this whole table here, I would just select DP04, which is coming from the 2021 ACS one-year estimates. And then the full table will load with the data that we are looking for. So this is showing one of our data profile tables. I found that those are also great for, high-level data points. It gives data on demographics, in this case, housing. We also have some social characteristics as well as economic characteristics as well. just going to give this a few seconds to load. I do apologize. It might be an issue with my bandwidth today since I'm working off of my personal laptop today. But here we can see the full DP04 table here. So again, a lot of housing characteristics that are available for our selected geography. And then if we wanted to look at all of our data profile tables, we do have 4 of them. We could also just type in this single search bar up top here and do DP0 and then type in our geography. So this is another way that you can search within the site. And that will only show the 4 data profile tables once that search loads. And I did find that refreshing it did help last time, so I am going to try that just so we can move along with the rest of the demo today. Here we can see that it is starting to populate with some of our filters. And do apologize, this usually does not take as long, but again, with the bandwidth issue, I do feel like it might be best to move on. But if you were able to view our past session, they did just come up with those 4 data profile tables that are available. So we are going to move on just for the sake of time. But again, that is some of how we access the geography profiles and our data profiles. So next up is comparing across geographies in a map. So our example, we're just going to be looking at searching by topics and then some of our mapping capabilities. For this, we're going to be looking at commuting data tables for all census tracts in Delaware County, Pennsylvania. So I'm going to go back into the site, and here we can see that it has loaded, thankfully, and you can see those data profiles there. But if we want to start a new search, I'm going to click on the U.S. Census Bureau logo, and this will take us back to our main landing page. Now, for this example, we're going to use the other way of searching, which is the advanced search. So I'm going to click on that down there. And this is more of a point and click method of just selecting filters and then seeing what tables the site returns to you. So for this example, I am going to select my geography first. I often recommend people select their geographies first just based on the way that the site is set up. But we're going to click on the census tract geography out of the most commonly used geography section. And this is where you're just going to drill down until you see the geographies that you need. So I'm going to first select Pennsylvania. And then out of the list of counties in Pennsylvania, I'm going to select Delaware County. And then we can select all census tracts within Delaware County, Pennsylvania, and add that to our filters. So next up is our topics. So we can go to the topics filter to select commuting. So here we have over 40 different topics that are available for you to select from. I'm going to select the employment folder, and then commuting is under employment. So we're going to select that, and that will also be added to our filters. So now I'm just going to click on the search button here and see what tables are returned to us. So these are our commuting tables. I'm going to select the first one, which is SO801. And if you collapse these 2 panels, you can see the table in full. So, if I want to map this estimate here for public transportation, I would be able to do that by either clicking on the Maps tab or the Map button. And we'll just wait for our census tracts to load up. You can see that it's going to be mapping the total workers 16 and over as an estimate. Now we want that public transportation variable instead. So I'm going to click on the variables button, And this allows us to select whatever variable is present in the table to be shown on the map. So I'm going to click on the downward facing arrow. And here we see all of the variables. So if I want to map public transportation, I'm going to click on that variable, and that will be the map will be reloaded with that new variable. So you can view the census tracts here that have, that darkest shade of blue, which have the highest estimate of people who commute to work via public transportation. So then just a few other things that I wanted to note. The select tool allows you to click and drag across an unselected space of geographies, and those will also be added to your map. So you can, if you wanted to add, surrounding tracts, you could do that. You can also select them individually by just clicking on the tract and then clicking select. The Clear Geos button is pretty self-explanatory, just clears all the geographies from your map and you get a clean slate. If you select more than one type of geography, so if you wanted to see all census tracts in Delaware County and all places in Delaware County, you would click on the layer button, and then you could switch between the two since you can't map two separate geographies at once. The year button allows you to just switch the year of data that is being mapped. So for the 5-year estimates, we have 2021 all the way down to 2010. The base map button allows you to select what is being shown underneath the tracks being mapped. So right now it's on basic, but we do have detailed and no base map. If you don't want anything, you just want the map itself. I like the basic base map just because it's kind of the best of both worlds. You still get some, geographic information, but it's not taking, focus away from the actual map data. Then we have the boundaries button. This allows you to see other geographic boundaries laid on top of the ones that you're mapping. You're not going to be able to see data for these boundaries, but if you wanted to see what places overlap with the tracks that you have selected, you can do that by clicking on the boundary line and boundary label. Then we get into some stylistic choices by clicking on colors. So this allows you to click a different color scheme. If you wanted it to match a specific presentation that you might have, something like that. Likewise, if you wanted to change the data classes, you could do so by clicking on the classes button that's being shown in the legend over there. The identify tool allows you to click on a selected geography and then get some identifying geographic information about it. So since we overlaid the places, we can see what place this census tract is in. And if we click on these arrows, we can also see which geo ID this census tract has if you're interested in that. And you can exit by clicking the exit identify tool button there. Then there is the table button. This just shows you the estimates that's being mapped and then the geographies that are being mapped, in just one small little table there. If you want to view the full table, you can click on it there and it'll take you back to the table view screen. And then the notes are just showing notes that are associated with this table. So it also just has some ACS technical documentation and methodology if you're interested in that. And then finally, the share button is practically the same as before, just has this link, if you are using this map over and over again. I will say that one of the features that people have asked about is, downloading or printing maps. As of right now, that is not a functionality within the site, but hopefully sometime in the future that will be available. I do recommend just, screenshotting the map view if you have screenshotting capabilities on your computer or if you have a screenshotting software. But our third and final example will be just looking at geographies in a table, comparing across geographies in a table, and we'll just be going over how to, export and download tables. So we'll be looking at the ratio of income to poverty for Houston and Harris County. So I'm going to go back into the site and then click on that U.S. Census Bureau logo again. and then hit that advanced search again since we are selecting 2 different geographies. So first up is Harris County. So I'm going to select the geography filter and then county. And then out of our list of states, I'm going to select Texas. And then you can either scroll down this list or you can use the search bar to search for Harris County. Let's add that to our filters. Then we'll click on the geography filter again to take us back to the main landing page for geographies. And then we'll select place. And likewise, we'll select Texas again. And then we can search for Houston here, and that will come up in our search as well as Houston City. So now we are going to use the topics filter to get our poverty filter. So that's going to be in income and poverty, then the income and poverty folder, and then finally our poverty filter right there. So I'm just going to click on the search button again and see what tables come up. Now we can either view all of the tables in this view, or we can switch just to the table view there. Now I'm looking for a specific table and I'm not seeing it in this first set of 10. So you can actually change the view from 10 to 25 or 50. So I'm going to change it to 50 and then scroll down until I see the particular table I'm looking for, which is B17002, ratio of income to poverty level in the past 12 months. So again, I can collapse this filter and results panel here and get the full view of the table. So just a few things to note with this table ribbon here. The notes button is the same as the mapping notes. It's the same table notes there, so just give some explanation of symbols as well. This is another way to add different filters to your table if you want to add them on afterwards. Likewise, if you want to change the data set and year, you can do so in these buttons here. If you want to hide any columns, you can do so by clicking on the hide button and then just deselecting the different columns that are available. And similarly, with the margin of error button, if you click on that, that will just get rid of those margin of error columns. You can either click on the margin of error button again or click restore, and that will bring them back. The transpose button allows you to move the geographies into the rows and have the topics in the columns, or the variables in the columns, I should say. And then to move that back, you just click transpose again. I'm going to come right back to these, but again, the share button is the same. The print button allows you to only print the first page of data and associated table notes. So if you wanted to print the full table, I definitely recommend using the Excel export. So this will export the table basically as it's shown on the site. It is very user-friendly. It's more readable than the CSV or the zip download, and it does come with the an information page as well that gives you all the info about the table itself, you know, the URL, what geographies you selected. So that's more reader-friendly. The CSV also has all of the you know, labels written out. It's just formatted a bit differently, but still, you know, very useful, and you can still get all of the appropriate data that you need. I would say the zip download is the most different from these two. It is more used for machine reading if you're using, you know, a statistical software. The zip download provides geo IDs for the geographies as well as the variable codes. So it's just a different format, again, very much for machine reading, but any of these ways you would be able to export or download the table. It's really up to your needs as a data user. So that's just a little bit about the table ribbon capabilities that we have within the site. Now I wanted to go over some educational materials and, you know, frequently asked questions that we have. So the first one is, you know, if you're having issues seeing data for all of your geographies or selecting your geography, I recommend changing the product drop-down menu at the top of the table from the ACS 1-year estimates, if it's defaulted to that, to the 5-year estimates. So This will resolve most issues just because the ACS 1 year has that minimum population requirement of 65,000 people or more in order to be released for any given geography. Next is, how do I access data for zip codes? I think people get tripped up on this because we have zip code tabulation areas and 5-digit zip codes. So for ACS data, you're going to want to use the ZICDAs because this is giving us, data on people and housing other demographic areas, whereas the zip codes themselves are used for data on businesses. So definitely use ZICDAs if you are looking for a comparable geography. And then if you want to access data for collections of ZICDAs in bulk, we do have filters that allow you to select all ZICDAs for most recent data releases. We also have similar pseudo geographies that are available for, places, county subdivisions, and other lower level geographies. And then if you want to select all census tracts within a city or town, you would kind of go through a similar process of, selecting census tract, then selecting your state. But instead of selecting your county, you would use the within other geographies button and then select place. So then you could select or go through the list of, cities, CDPs, towns in Colorado, for example, and then select Denver City. And then you would be able to select the pseudo geography for all census tracts fully or partially within Denver City, Colorado. So I just wanted to mention also that the site is always, being updated. It is, it's still pretty new, just a few years old. So, if you want to check out the site and then provide any comments or suggestions, or if you have any questions on the site, you can always reach out to us at census.data@census.gov, or you can use the feedback button on the main data.census.gov landing page to provide your feedback or questions. I also wanted to mention our data.census.gov workshop. So if you liked, the taste of what I gave in today's presentation, we have longer form workshops that are also participatory. We have ones on data.census.gov that are basics, advanced usage, and then also one specifically on mapping. I also teach one on the microdata access tool, which allows you to access ACS data and basically build your tables essentially from the ground up using the public use microdata sample. My colleague Sam also teaches the basics of using the Census API. So if you want to access ACS data that way, he teaches a really great class on that as well. And then finally, we do have our data.census.gov resources page that's linked there. It has a lot of great resources, how-to materials, video tutorials, PDFs. We also have recorded webinars. And if you want to sign up or, go to an upcoming webinar, we have that available at Census Academy at the second link there. And then again, if you have any comments or questions or other feedback that you'd like to provide to us, please reach out to census.data@census.gov. We usually get back to people in 1 to 2 business days. And if we, need to reach out to a subject matter expert on your question, we'll be happy to do so and get you connected with whatever area, you're looking to find information for. But with that, I just wanted to open up and see if there were any questions in the Q&A.
So far, Maria, there are no questions in the Q&A.
Okay, I'll give a few more seconds just for people in case there is that lag that we mentioned. I will stop sharing my screen there. There we go.
Just an FYI for all attendees, this session is being recorded. It will be available soon after. And as Maria referenced, there was an earlier session at 11:10 that has the same content. So you could watch either of those sessions to learn more. Finally, before we close out, I want to encourage everyone to after we end the session to consider joining a lounge. You will find those available at the top of your tabs. And those open at 12:40 and last until 1:40 for our lunch break. It's a great way to informally network with people and to meet people across the data user community. And if there are no questions, we can wrap up.